Hello everyone, this is Gunnar Andersen, and today I'm going to show some of my games that I played in the St. Petersburg Chess Club Quad. This was played, of course, in St. Petersburg, Florida. In the first game I had white against Timotey Gospodinov. So I started out with e4, e5, and slowly we got like an Italian, and he played this move, queen f6, which in my opinion is quite dubious, and also I think it has bad results typically. So what I should play is d4, he takes d4, and then e5. Now if he plays knight e5, we just go queen e2, and he loses. By the way, d6, cd, and the knight protects d4. And actually I had looked at this before, I just couldn't remember the theory precisely. He should play like this, and okay, that's a different question entirely. The theory goes on, of course, but it is pretty bad for black, so I didn't know that, or I guess I didn't remember it, so I just castled. And I thought, okay, I can just play kind of slowly. So he plays d6, and here I played a4, and I'm threatening to win his bishop with b4 and then a5. So let's say he goes here, he loses his bishop. Therefore, he plays a6. By the way, a4 is also a good option. Or sorry, a5 rather. Which just clamps down on the b4 square. So I can't really play that move anymore. And I can't do this thing anymore because he just takes with the pawn. So I have to kind of come up with different stuff. So a6 is also a move, of course, but I think a5 was better. I played d3. Bishop g4. And here I just played b4. And he thought for a while here. So there's a few moves, obviously. He can play bishop a7 or bishop to b6, although bishop a7 is better, which I'll talk about in a bit. But he decided to actually go into this endgame. And this endgame, I'd say white's a bit better here for sure. It's a lot more pleasant to play as white here because, sure, you might say, look, these double pawns suck, but I can play f4 and just trade them off. And this is kind of an idea that I didn't really, I neglected to do that at multiple points in the game because I thought he'll just take back with his knight and then his knight will be good on e5. But this would have been a good decision. He played bishop b6, and the reason why this move is worse is because now I can play knight a3, knight c4, or knight d2, knight c4. And the bishop on a7 cannot be molested so easily. So I could play a move like b5, for example, but this could have serious downsides. He goes take, take, and now he takes on f2. And if king takes f2, rook takes a1. I didn't see that I had this bishop b2 move intermediately, which would solve a lot of my problems. But even still, it's a little unclear to me because sure, white has the two pieces, even two bishops actually, but black has a few pawns in exchange for the rook. And yeah, overall it's interesting, but probably white should be winning here. So he actually played bishop b6, which was the worst version, so that's why I played knight a3. Knight e7, bishop b3, I'm just vacating the c4 square for my knight so that I can take his bishop. And just to show real quickly why I want to take his bishop, right? Let's say he plays a move like rook e8, which, I don't know, maybe not the best move, but just for an example. Or we'll say knight g6. This is a sensible decision, right? Because he wants to go to one of these squares. We can go take, take, bishop to e3. And now his pawn is under attack. He can get some counterplay with knight h4 in this case. And probably he should. So this actually wasn't the perfect move to analyze, but okay, let's just say some random move like rook e8. This is what I'm threatening. That's kind of the point, to see what I'm threatening. And then I can go here. I can also try this move, by the way. Unless this happens. So maybe I should just go here then. But yeah, he can go for this, and now this guy will be weak. He has these weaker pawns, so do I. We'll make these all red. But overall, this isn't so bad. I should maybe play f4. I can also play king h1 and rook g1. But yeah, white has two bishops against two knights, which is typically good. I can also try this move, by the way, with the idea to attack the pawn on d6 from behind. So he played bishop a7, which was a leveled response. And again, I can try this, but I didn't want to do it because I just thought like he was getting a lot in exchange for this. So I played this move king g2, and my entire idea is just that whenever he takes on f2, it's not check anymore. So like I can go like here, take, then I just take on a8, and then I take on f2, because I'm not in check. He doesn't have time anymore. Whereas in this position, I'm in check, obviously, because in a perfect world, I would take his rook, but I can't. So that's how life is. King g2, king h8, and now I play b5. So taking on b5 would be very bad here for him, actually. Knight d8, for example. And I can even play a move like bishop e3. I can also play the move b6 here. That was a move that I considered strongly. And the point is just that if he takes here, we just go knight b6, and then we take on a8. But I can try this one too. And if he plays b6, that would be absolutely dreadful, by the way. Because I'll play rook a6, and then I'll play rook a1, and yeah, he can't really get out of this alive, unfortunately, for him. So b6 I think probably is the cleanest, but yeah, I mean this is just kind of a disaster. So he was wise to avoid this. He played knight d8. And here I played bishop a3, and I really missed a lot of good options, basically. This move is very strong, but I didn't realize one of the key ideas of this move is to play knight e5. Or f4 and then e5. I wanted to play this move because I thought, okay, I'll play b6 and I'll just destroy his pawn structure, right? Kind of like the other positions where he lets me capture on b6. It would be very similar. For example, let's say he plays g6. We'll just go b6 as a thing to show you guys. And if he goes take, we go take, and bishop take. And yeah, white has a pretty good position. But he played f5 instead. And again, I could have played knight e5, which was very strong. b6 is not worse, per se. But here I actually missed a very good option after bishop b8, which was f4. And this move looks very weird. But the reason it's strong is because no matter what he does, I get a pawn to e5. Let's say he takes. I will take here. And he takes, and after fe, if he captures this way, he's in a pin, so it's not going to work out that well. And if he tries this move, we can capture here. And then we can play like de, and yeah, this is all really bad news. This would actually be even worse, I think, because of e5. Or rather, let's take first and then play e5. And yeah, we're threatening to like take and then go in here. So that's just totally hard. But I did not see that at all, so I just captured this guy. And again, f4 is good. Take. And actually, f4 is good here, too. It makes a lot of sense to undouble my pawns. So if he takes, I play e5 and d4. White has these connected pawns. And 2 bishops. And also, we'll be able to pick this guy off soon. I played rook fd1 instead. I wanted to play d4. That was my idea. Rook f6, and I could just go back here, but I thought, okay, it will be easier if I take, because this was a rapid game. And again, f4 is good, but I played d4. ed, cd. And now for the first time, f4 is a bad move. And now, yeah, white is up a clean pawn. He has a passed pawns. He has a rook on a1, which isn't doing anything, but up a clean pawn, bishop versus knight. This is just a matter of technique now. So I played rook a2, which is pretty reasonable. Knight c6, rook b2. Aimed against this move. h5. Bishop to d5. I can also play d5, by the way. And the reason this works is because I can do like this. And in many cases, actually, I'll just take on h5, and he won't be able to get away from this. But I played bishop d5, which was fine. g5. And here I just played king g1. This was a prophylaxis move because, like, I want to take on b7, but obviously the problem here is he just takes this. And it looks kind of annoying. It's probably still winning for white, actually, is the funny part, but I don't know. There's no reason to give him any counterplay, so king g1 was played. My opponent played a5, so I just captured on b7. Now, if he plays this, we'll just take on c6. And I actually did analyze this a bit, but I realized when he goes backwards, we can just play bishop f1. And he runs out of attacking options very quickly. Because otherwise, you know, maybe he can do this stuff, but we just play bishop f1 and we say, you can't do anything. Knight b4 instead, rook to d2. So I'm guarding f2 again. Knight d5, ed5, rook d6. And here I start grinding. I played rook b5, and he played rook a8, which is really pretty dreadful. He could try rook d8. Then after rook takes a5, rook takes d5, rook takes d5, rook takes d5. I will just simply march my king over to the queen side. For example, we could go like this. If he goes here, we'll just play d5 maybe. And you might think, okay, well his king gets over here in time, which you're right, but the thing is that he'll lose these guys. So king e2. And white here has the active rook, so he can just play a move like rook to d1 even. And black cannot do anything about that, really. Like, if black goes into this ending, he loses because his king is really far away. Oh, or apparently not. Interesting. King h5. Oh, okay, yeah, this one's... Okay, this is a draw. A lot of times, though, he's losing in these positions. Rook d5 probably actually is a better way to go about this then. And we'll just take both. But f and h is a draw, so... sorry, let's go back a bit. I guess here I can just play rook a2. And if he goes backwards to d5, now... the pawn is further away, so this should not work anymore. King e2... Yeah, now it's a different story already, right? Because... he's cut off. If he plays a move like... Actually, I don't really have a suggestion for a move. He could go check. That's actually reasonable, and then just go back here. If I go somewhere else, and he can check me again, but at some point he kind of runs out of checks, and okay, we take these guys, and yeah, this is a disaster. But yeah, I thought everything was winning, but apparently it's not. But in general, like, it's better technique to have pawns further away from his king. Like, if you can choose a pass pawn here or a pass pawn here, you'd rather have it on a7, but I thought it didn't make a difference. Now, he played this move, though, which he's guarding the a5 pawn for sure, but it's very passive and it's hard. So rook c2, king g7, rook c7 check, king f6, then rook c6. If he goes capture, we capture back, and we'll just play d5, and we have two pass pawns. And we can play like this. These are called like self-propelled pawns even, by Dvoretsky. And here is where you get your king involved. You go like up here or something. And it's hard because he wants to guard this guy, right? So he can move back and forth between these two squares. If he ever tries to get active counterplay, we just say, fine, I'll ignore you. Maybe he gets my pawn, but it doesn't really matter. We play, we can play even rook c5 sometimes, but not here. We'll just play king c4 and then try to get our king in front of the pawn. If our king gets here, it's pretty good. Check. Check. Let's say he takes here. King b7. Rook b2 check. And you might think, wow, we lost everything on the king's side. So black gets counterplay, and he does, but it's not sufficient. And even king d8, by the way, can be played, which is kind of amusing. If he captures here, we just play rook a6 check. So yeah, this is really bad news. he tried king e7, which was reasonable, and I went check. Then I played rook e6 check just because I thought it would be better to have a rook over here so I can menace these pawns. Rook to b5, just attacking, or sorry, defending and attacking. King c7, rook c6 check. And here I realized that actually I can make this rook attack these two pawns. So I played d6. And I think I was better off for it. Right now, if he plays... I don't know. I guess rook g7 is the only really reasonable move, but if we take here, we're actually threatening to checkmate him too. So he does go to g7. Then rook f5. Rook a7, king d7 is met by rook c7 check, and then capturing the rook for free. But he tried rook a7, which was fine, then d5. Pawn h4, king f1, pawn g4, king e2, rook a to b7. And yeah, I decided, like, with the last two moves, I said, okay, my rooks are in great spots, I'm just going to put my king up here. It actually would have been smarter to play rook f8 check first. And then put my king to c5, but that's okay. Rook b7, king d3, then king c4. This was not really a good use of time by him. I guess he could have played, like, this move, that's why it wasn't the most accurate, but this is also pretty horrible. I can just play rook a6 and just play rook a8. He could move back and say, okay, whatever. But rook c7 and king c6 and d7, and yeah, it's really hard. Rook b3, king c4. Now I go check, and I actually calculated that this will just lead to checkmate. And actually I was even thinking about this one for some reason originally, because I thought, okay, I can do this, and yeah. But this obviously is much better. So that was my first game against Timotey, Gospodinov, and yeah, in the opening could have played better with d4. What ended up happening, it's nothing really special. I'll show you guys. Like, yeah, I mean, it's like black's a bit better, or sorry, white's a bit better, rather. I spoke there, but yeah, he should play bishop a7. That would have been a big improvement, because bishop b6 is way slow. I can play f4, or I can play knight a3, knight c4, which is what I did. And naturally, my idea is I just want to mess up his pawns. I want his pawns like this. And slowly but surely, I had more space, and I was able to convert it. I used my two bishops, and yeah, many times f4 would have been good, but I did not even play f4, and I think it was pretty smooth nonetheless, because white's position is just superior overall with the extra pawns. So yeah, thanks everyone for watching.